Okay, so the game's underway already. Fritzlein is set up. He's doing what he often does lately. He puts a camel on one side, two horses on the other. I think the reason he puts the horses on the G and H file is that in the past, Chessandgo has sometimes been pulling his H2 rabbits, so now he's putting his horses on the E side. He also likes to try to frame enemy horses by placing his horses on G3 and H4, and then flipping the opposing horse onto the G4 square. And Chessandgo is doing what he often does. The only thing that surprises me a little with his setup is he's put two dogs on the left side. What he often does is puts a dog on the B7 square, horse on the C7 square. He's decided to mix that up a little bit. Of course, you don't want to put a horse, well, many players don't put their horse on B7 in this situation because they don't want their, they don't want to be threatened by the camel at some point. So you use the dog, which is a weaker piece but sufficiently strong for this purpose. Fritzlein's gone with a pretty standard setup here. 3 steps forward with his elephant, 1 step forward with the horse. Chessandgo's responded in kind. So now Fritzlein he can attack on either wings. He might try to go up the middle and try and pull that E8 rabbit. Sometimes I like to put a piece on D7 in this situation just so the enemy elephant can't reach E7, but doesn't look like much of a problem right now. And this is I've taken a look over their history. This is the 9th World Championship game between Fritzlein and Chessandgo. Fritzlein's won 9, Fritzlein's won 5, Chessandgo's won 3. Chessandgo won the 2007 and 2009 championships, but in 2008 Fritzlein went 11-0, including a 3-0 record against 3-0 record against Chessandgo, which was pretty remarkable.
Is Fritzlein taking a while here to think, or am I missing a move?
I see him right now thinking over his 3G, and he's done it. So he's leaving his camel back on the B2 square. I guess he doesn't want to give Chessandgo any incentive to come over there, so he's keeping his camel back, and now he's just setting up on the east side. Now with 2 dogs on the west side. Oh, wow. See, I thought the reason Fritzlein had set up horses on G and H was that the horse couldn't rabbit pull on the H file, but now already on move 3, there it goes. And Fritzlein, I was wondering why he moved his horse to F3. He might be thinking of moving that to B3 right now, because with 2 dogs around that C6 trap, that's a good place to put a horses on the B3 square now. But he also has to be concerned because that silver horse can go to F2. If he moves his gold horse to B3, that silver horse might move to F2 and push the cat up. So I suspect that Fritzlein will maybe put a couple of pieces on G2 and G1. Oh, okay, so he's pursuing that weak west side with the 2 dogs. That's a good place for his horse, but I'm surprised he's allowing the silver horse to access F2. Chessandgo, he likes to attack. He might go straight for the F2 square this turn. That's what I'm expecting. Carl did think a long time on that 3G move, but he does have 5 minutes 15 seconds built up in his reserve. Both players are building up their reserve, of course. This is the time to do it.
With that advanced horse on the H file, do you think Chessandgo might be planning to do sort of something like a elephant camel horse attack on that side?
Oh, I think he might. He might start off now by putting his his horse on F2. If he can get his elephant onto E3, he would definitely be very inclined to bring his camel down very soon after that. What Chessandgo used to do all the time was he used to put his horse on f2, his elephant on e3, and then he would bring his camel down and push your horse onto the f3 square, and then it's suddenly framed. Then he would bring his other horse down to the e3 square, rotate out his elephant, and then you'd be in big trouble. So players have learned to fight against that tactic. You have to be very vigilant, but in this case I think there's a bit of an opening to try and attack of that sort.
Yeah, I don't think I've learned to fight against that yet. I mean, that happens to me sometimes, where they just come in and attack so strongly with the elephant, camel, and horse, and I just don't know how to handle that situation.
Alright, there's a few situations that players sometimes throw at you, and the first time you're always stunned. You having your piece framed on your square right in the opening is always a shocker, and when Fritzlein used to put his horses on like g3 and h4, for example, and then freeze yours on g4, so your elephant would have to go to e3 to protect it, then he would do a two-move pull where he would force frame it on f3, and there's nothing you can do. And at the end of the sequence, you're like, wow, where did that come from? But now people are learning defensive techniques to stop these things. And Chessandgo's thinking a long time. I'm a bit surprised by that. I thought he would quickly put his horse on f2. Very, very aggressive player.
Yeah, it's probably not that common for him to think this long early in the game.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't have a connection problem. Oh, so he's not going for that attack. I guess Chessandgo was concerned about maybe an attack by Fritzlein around the c6 square there. So he's
hello, Greg. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it just said talk power granted. Was I quiet there for a while?
Yeah, I accidentally changed the room settings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you should be okay.
So now on the 4S move there, I thought Chessandgo might have put his horse on f2, but that would have, I guess he was concerned about Fritzlein's potential attack on the west side, so he's playing it a little more slowly here. He also might be thinking long term that with camels on opposite wings, if he can draw the elephants to the west side, then the camel becomes very powerful on the east side. One thing, in the past, people used to put their camels in the middle of the board. Now people play camels on the sides of the boards, and they play very aggressively. Fritzlein's thinking about what to do now. He is undoubtedly concerned about that camel on g6, because he knows it's not easy to hold it hostage with the horse below it, and yet that camel's a huge threat at some point to try and pull the e3 gold horse up. Fritzlein also has opportunities of his own to attack. He could push that d6 horse to the east, put his elephant on d6, push the horse to e6, and then he got a pretty clear attack to try and push his horse up the west side, only defended by two dogs. But Fritzlein's not, I find he prefers to,
wow, he's going for an attack.
He is going for the attack.
Style here.
Yeah, see, I thought he would set it up first by putting an elephant on d6, pushing the horse to e6. That way the silver horse wouldn't be able to reach the b6 square. Now if Chessandgo just plays a little cautiously, moves his horse from d6 to b6, maybe back up that dog to b7, Klein might just have to pull a rabbit rather than getting an actual attack against the quadrant. Like an elephant and horse attack against the c6 square.
Yeah, right. And on that fourth step, instead of moving the cat up, maybe if you'd stepped the elephant over, that might have helped prevent that horse from moving over. Yeah, very interesting. I think it's going to be, both players are going to probably play very attacking style here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think before Chessandgo starts his attack, he's going to want to put his horse on b6. Once he's got that set up, then he's going to start being very aggressive. Oh, I have an echo again. Okay, it's gone.
I think
yes, Chessandgo made the right move here. He's going to have a very strong attack on the east side, but first he wants to prevent the horse from reaching b6. Now, Fritzlein, he doesn't have an attack just yet. I mean, he could try to move his elephant to c5 and put the horse on a6, and then he would have a 4-step maneuver where he could pull the silver horse down to b5 and put his own horse on b6. But I don't think he wants to do that right now. I think Fritzlein's going to pull. He's just going to rabbit pull. Okay, and I guess he did. The reason he didn't move his elephant over to c5 is he doesn't want to start attacking on that west side. It's too premature when there's a dangerous horse and camel lurking on the east side. Going to try whenever possible here to keep his elephant on at least in the middle, or maybe try to pursue that camel or horse at some point. Or at least stand close enough that they're too intimidated to advance. If that elephant moves too far west, the camel will start to attack at some point.
Yeah, maybe Gold is going to start like something, try to make it a bit of a rabbit pulling game now.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like that's what Carl wants to do. He wants to try to keep his elephant on the east side to prevent the camel from advancing while just pulling rabbits on the west side. Now it'll be interesting to see what Jean does here. Of course, he can't. Well, it would be very difficult for him to pull rabbits on the west side because there's a lot of strong gold pieces there. His action looks like he's strong on the east side, but right now, well, he still has that option to move his horse to f2. I still think that's a really strong move. What often happens in the opening is that if you have a rabbit on h2, for example, in this position, your horse can't reach f2. But once you pull up one rabbit, capture it, bring your horse down a second time, then sometimes you have an opportunity to reach f2. But in this case, he has got the opportunity to do it right on the opening.
Looks like he's preparing for that.
Yeah. Now he might be thinking, instead of pushing the rabbit onto the trap, maybe at some point he wants to push the horse on the trap with his camel.
If the silver elephant would have moved to e4, he might have had a chance there to threaten the camel a little bit, I think.
Or the silver camel to... Oh, you're showing the
silver elephant on
e4?
c4 instead of d3.
Right. Thing is, even if he pulls the camel to b4, the horse can step down to a4, pull a rabbit with it, and then the camel can retreat. I think what I would like in Jean's position, it'll be interesting to see what he does, but I think I would just try an attack on the southeast side. It'll take Carl, I guess, how many steps? 10 steps to eventually capture the silver rabbit. That's a long time compared to a direct attack on an enemy trap. When you attack an enemy trap, it can take quite a few steps as well, but you're really building a long-term positional advantage, whereas a rabbit pull takes many steps and you're just capturing one rabbit, and then you have to go back and start all over again. Sometimes if I have a chance to just attack, I'll not worry too much about my rabbits and just go play aggressively. That'll be interesting to see what Carl does. He might want to deny the 3 square to the... Nope, he's not going to do that. So he's preventing the camel from advancing. Pulling a rabbit. So it looks like Carl's strategy here is going to be just try to win the silver rabbit on the west side while stopping Gold's attacking ideas on the east side. And that'll be interesting to see what Jean does here.
I was going to say Silver was in a good position to flip out the dog, but I don't think he can go for that now because, with the gold elephant being right close to the... maybe I'm wrong.
The thing is,
want to pull out the dog.
Silver camel is flipped to g4. Jean can use 2 steps to move his horse to f2. That would protect the camel. And then he would want to use 1 step. Well, he still has to protect his cat. It would be interesting to see if he sacrifices the cat, if Carl does flip the camel to g4. Because that f7 cat would be hanging. But he could try to win a dog. No, I don't think that would work. I don't think he would do that.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to abandon that dog if gold flips the camel. Yeah, it looks like gold is going to be able to win a rabbit here on the west wing pretty soon if,
Right.
It continues.
But Carl's gonna first try to stop that dog from... I don't know what he's gonna do. Like, on the one hand, he could try, and he might be thinking of trying to save his dog directly. Oh, no.
Oh, that's interesting. Just want to...
I'm quite surprised by that. Mm-hmm. That's what Paul Mertens did in his round 2 game against Chessandgo, as he felt a little overwhelmed and he pushed his elephant down to take a horse hostage, but it'd be... Well, I guess maybe what he was thinking of doing... okay, so he just moved...
to do that
I'm hearing a lot of echo here. It was getting a lot of echo there, but now it's okay. Now Carl's really got some thinking to do here. That dog's in big trouble. And the gold elephant's very poorly placed on G3. I think he might just have to try and maybe put his elephant on F4 and retreat his dog to... I don't even know where he would put that dog, maybe try to get it to D3.
Yeah, that's probably the best he can do.
Yeah. Doesn't want to trade rabbit for dog for sure. This is a tough position for Carl. He has to do something here that he cannot allow his dog to be pushed to F5. I don't see any escape from it. Just a question of which piece he'll use. I mean, I guess his two options are to use his... Oh, yeah, he's used his elephant to move to F4 on his 9th move. His dog's now on D3. Question is whether Chessandgo will continue to pursue that dog by trying to push it up to D5.
Well, if he does that, I think Carl would probably come back after the silver horse again.
Right. Then... Right, he might move his... he's going to do it. So now he's going to use 2 steps on his 10th move to protect his horse again, and then he'll have to use his other horse from B6, move it over to D6.
Yeah, I think maybe he's planning to use his horse to freeze the dog and then bring his elephant back to save the silver horse there.
Right. This is a difficult position for Carl.
Yeah, definitely. I'd be also interested to see if maybe Chessandgo, pretty soon might start activating his camel on the east wing.
Mm-hmm. Carl might also be thinking, so he's done... Ooh. So now I guess that was his 10th move. He's now taken the silver horse hostage again. I guess he's just lost... I think he believes that his only hope to save his gold dog is to do exactly what Omar suggested originally, which is to claim that silver horse hostage again. Now, if Chessandgo wants to hold that gold hostage, he'll have to move his horse from B6 to D6 and move his elephant from D4 to F4. And then that's when it'll get really interesting for Fritzlein.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that Gold didn't want the elephant to come over to E3. Maybe that's why he moved the dog up. Right.
Yeah, and maybe the dog's going to try and save the other dog on the next step. So if the elephant moves here to F4 or just to D6 now, maybe Carl's thinking of moving his dog now from E3 to D5. I don't know if he can save his pieces long term. It would take him 4 steps to move his dogs to d4 and c4. It would take Chessandgo 3 steps, pull the dogs to freeze them on the c4 and d5 squares. Then Karl can bring in his horse or his camel to try and save those dogs. The real problem is that if he starts pushing the dogs east now, it's much harder for gold to save them. He can try and save them in the west, but the east is a really dangerous spot. Karl right now is going to have to think about... One thing he might do is also try to just sacrifice a rabbit to save his dog. Maybe move the rabbit from c2 to c5, bring a dog down to d4. That's much better to lose the rabbit than to lose the dogs, and he has the consolation of knowing that he might get that a5 rabbit at some point.
But I don't think the dog will be able to go to c4.
No, sorry. Move the horse to... I meant d4.
Ah, okay.
Move the rabbit to c5. Yeah. I think that's what I would do. If Chessandgo captures that rabbit next move, then you have another chance to try and retreat the dog and at least try and capture that a5 rabbit at some point to even the material again.
Yeah, this is quite interesting. I mean, wow.
Whoa. I'm very surprised by that. So I guess he's not afraid of the camel. The silver camel could come to d5, in which case the gold camel could rescue both pieces. The gold camel could move to b5, horse to c4, and dog to d3. The question is whether Chessandgo will try something even more aggressive.
Yeah, or they could create a situation where it could be a horse trade.
Right. But I don't think Chessandgo would want to do that because he's got a really good position now. I can't imagine he would want to just let the gold elephant off that easily, because the gold elephant's in a terrible position right now. Yeah.
Yeah, you called it. So do you expect the silver camel to come all the way up to b6? Or I'm sorry, the gold camel?
Well, if it comes to b6, there could be a frame on the next move. He could frame that horse.
Right.
I would be more tempted to retreat everything. I would be tempted to put the gold horse on b4 and the gold dog on d3.
Yeah, that would probably be the safest.
Well, I guess he could do both as well. He could put the camel on b6 and retreat the gold dog to... Sorry, retreat the gold horse to c4 and put his camel on b6. That's the riskier move.
Yeah, and since the middle is a little bit congested, the silver elephant wouldn't be able to come around to say like b5 or something real easily.
Right. Yeah, one thing I like about congested middles, or when the board is congested, is that you do get more opportunities to bring your horses and camels up into... Oh, wow, he's going for it.
Yeah,
now there's an opportunity for a hostage.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But, the camel is very poorly placed on c5. That might be what Karl's counting on.
You think it's vulnerable there?
Oh, for sure. If he does take the horse hostage right now on the c6 square, then Karl's next move might be to put his horse on g3, try and get his elephant out to e3, and then from there he's just a move away from freezing the silver camel.
Right.
And he'd be worried about his southeast quadrant too, because if it's just a gold dog and a gold horse protecting the southeast trap against a silver elephant and a silver horse, then that's not a good long-term situation for Karl. But at least if he can threaten that silver camel, push it away, then the gold horse would be freed, and then Karl's got a decent attack there on the west side.
This is turning into a pretty sharp position here, really fast.
Oh, absolutely. And Karl's doing really well. Played more aggressively than I thought when I expected him to retreat his pieces, which I might have done. He's been attacking full throttle here.
I think Chessandgo might think for a while on this one.
Oh yeah, this is a critical position here. There's always time to build up your reserve when you have a simple little capture move that you don't have to think about, but in a position like this where the future course of the game is going to alter considerably. You really have to think about everything. He has to think about that camel on c5. He might even think of pulling his camel to d4 and pulling the gold horse to e5. Sorry, the silver camel to e4 and the gold dog. Oh, sorry, I meant the silver camel to e4 and the gold horse to e5. Does that, he's threatening a horse capture on the east side, but I don't know if he would like that too much, because then he might be leaving too much counterplay on the opposite side.
Yeah, although that probably would, gold would probably escape out of that fairly easily using the dog, though.
Both dogs would be frozen if he pulls the camel to e4
I see what you're
and the
saying.
horse to e5.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
Then he's got a lot of frozen pieces and a vulnerable horse.
Yeah,
I think I would prefer that over the frame.
I wonder if he's contemplating that.
Yeah. Well, John's reserve's getting really low. He's down to a minute. This is the 12S move here. Both players, he's going for the frame.
Oh boy, this will be interesting to see what happens here. So you think, is this frame worth it? Because a lot of pieces are involved in holding that frame.
The only thing John might be thinking about is he thought 2 minutes and 37 seconds on that. Oh no, sorry, he thought for 3 minutes on that last move, and he's obviously thinking long term about what the vulnerabilities are in his position. But Gold's vulnerabilities would be that if the elephant comes over to the d5 square or the c4 square, for example, then that southeast trap is really weak. You'll have a horse and elephant fighting against a dog and a horse. Jean might be thinking long-term strategically here, trying to weaken the southeast trap by leaving a vulnerability there.
Now on this move, if Gold was to move the elephant to say like f5 and or even e5, and that that might cause Silver to have to abandon that frame.
And that's what Carl's. Oh, yeah. So Carl. Yeah, he's almost done what you suggested. I guess he wanted to use that extra step to reinforce his f3 trap, knowing that he only needs 4 steps to push the camel to d4. This is a very interesting position for Jean here.
Yeah, and his the silver camel is sort of hanging out right now if it doesn't retreat.
So he could try to retreat it, but to e6 by putting his elephant on e4. Then Carl's got a pretty good attack on that west side there.
Right. Or I don't know. There might be also a possibility of just using the silver elephant to block the gold elephant's path temporarily. Might that help at all?
Yeah, that's a good idea too. Chessandgo might do that as a short-term solution, slow down the elephant, but long-term, he really has to think about what he wants to do with that camel now. Carl's done really well here. I thought he was in big trouble when that dog got pushed up to d5, but since then he's really helped turn the game around here.
Oh, interesting. Didn't even consider this one.
That's a really good move. Now that elephant can't come anywhere near the 5 silver camel.
Yeah, that's a great way to block off the elephant by using one of the gold pieces. Wow, so things are looking a little tough here for Gold right now. I don't know what I'd do in this situation.
Right. I guess the major threat is that if the silver elephant moves to c4 on the next move, he's just 4 steps away from pulling down that gold camel on b6. So Carl's going to have to get within range. See, from right here, it would take him 3 steps to push the dog down to d4 and move the elephant to to d5. And that's not fast enough if the silver elephant's ever on c4. So Carl has to think 2 steps ahead here and think of how he's going to protect this horse. I guess what Carl might want to do is try to free his framed horse. He could push the e6 rabbit onto the f6 square, and then the next move use 2 steps to pull the horse off the d6 square, and then he could use it in a step.
Yeah, I was thinking another idea might be just for gold to start trying to attack and invade the f6 trap with the elephant and horse.
Oh, right. That's a good counterattack. If he did that, I would think of maybe putting a cat on f3, a rabbit on f2, really filling up all those squares around the f3 trap with small gold pieces. That way they can fight off the silver horse. Meanwhile, the gold horse could attack on the around the f6 trap.
Yeah, that might almost force the silver elephant to have to come over to the f6 trap, and in which situation, gold could go after the silver camel.
Yeah, and if he can lure that silver elephant back to the east, he's really dodged a bullet. He'd have a very vulnerable camel on the west side. He could easily free that gold horse hostage at some point in the future. Sorry, the framed gold horse, I meant. Well,
he really solidifies the frame now.
Well, while we were thinking of all of that, yeah, I don't know if he can see that. Well, I guess what Carl's going to have to do is put a piece on the b4 square. By putting a piece on b4, it would take 2 moves for the camel. You want to force the camel to take 2 steps. That way the elephant can't pull the gold camel. And in the meantime, he can use another couple of steps with his elephant. Maybe I would pull the dog to d4, use 2 steps to push a rabbit onto f6. That way, next move I can use my elephant to help the horse.
Yeah, I'm expecting the gold elephant to maybe push back that rabbit on e6.
Yeah. Yeah, I would push that onto f6. Before I did that, I might think of moving the dog south to d4. But the most crucial move he has to make is block up that b4 square. That forces silver to use that extra step, which won't allow the framed gold horse to be captured.
Oh, right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I completely missed that.
Yeah, but all he needs is 1 step. By slowing it down by 1 step and then moving his elephant closer towards the d6 square, he's now able to save the horse on the next move.
Yeah, so he uses the rabbit to block the b4 square.
Now, Carl's idea here is he's going to pull back the silver horse in order to free his gold horse, or maybe occupy the d6 square. So it'd be interesting to see if Chessandgo has any options to freeze that d6 square, blockade the d6 square so the gold elephant can't reach it. He puts his rabbit on e5, cat on e6, and rabbit on f7, for example. I don't think the horse can actually... If silver pieces are on e5, e6, and f7, I don't think the gold elephant can then reach the d6 square next turn. Because he can't push or pull that. Oh, no, I'm wrong. I see what would happen. He would move the gold horse down. Move the gold dog south from d4, use 2 steps to pull the silver horse down, and then free the gold horse onto the d6 square.
I probably would be surprised to see silver start attacking towards the c3 trap with his camel a little bit, and then eventually maybe bringing that horse on g2 over there as backup.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting idea. And then you'd also have that a5 rabbit. Earlier in the game, it looked
advanced there. Yeah.
Right. That happens a lot in this game where you start pulling your opponent's rabbit, and later that rabbit turns into a goal threat.
And that's kind of Jean's style too, is to create all these really sharp positions.
And he's an excellent goal attacker. He's already probably thinking long-term about that a5 rabbit. Probably not thinking about it too much at this point. He has other concerns on his mind, but one glance at that a5 rabbit and the weak c3 trap, there's long-term chances there for sure. Plus that g2 silver horse could definitely come over and help out.
Yeah, and even I think the silver elephant could potentially leave the c6 trap temporarily if needed.
John once again is dipping deep into his reserve here.
Oh yeah, only less than 40 seconds in reserve.
Right. That's similar to the move I originally suggested. So he can the cat looks like it could be captured on e6, but that would cost. Well, it would be a trade. Yeah, it would set up a trade almost, except that the trade would be a gold camel and gold horse for silver horse and silver cat. So that's not a good trade. So what Carl can do is use one step to move the dog to d3, use 2 steps to pull the silver horse to d5, and then his gold horse could occupy d6. The only problem with that is that Chessandgo could reverse those steps, and I don't think that works anymore.
Yeah, this is where the position starts getting a little too confusing for me.
Right. See, yeah, Carl can use 4 steps to get the horse to d6, but then Chessandgo reverses them, and now Carl won't be able to save that piece long term. Now, if there's a one delaying tactic Carl could use, he could push that rabbit back up to a5, and now Chessandgo might just reverse these steps. Yeah. Now, if Carl wants to delay things again, he could push that rabbit up to a5, putting his cat on a4, and move the elephant back to d5. And then from there, you'll see, Silver won't have enough steps to threaten that camel again.
Yeah, he didn't waste any time reversing those steps.
Right.
Only 7 seconds used on that move.
Wow, and John's down to 1:15, so he was very important that he replenished his reserve there. Yes, I think Carl has to blockade the a5 square so that it's not possible for the camel to use 1 step to exit the b5 square. That's just a temporary delaying tactic.
Yeah, I think this horse might be finished, huh?
Yeah. Now, if Carl wants to take a huge gamble here, he could use his dog to capture the e6 cat. Hope and pray that hopefully the not captured, because Jean might be focused on the horse, and then later try and protect both the dog and the right. So if he captures the e6 cat, he'll lose his horse, but then in the next move the dog could, the elephant could occupy d6 and protect that horse. Okay, so Carl's using the blockade strategy here.
Whoa.
So now I suppose if Carl can eventually blockade a5, b5, b4, and then put another piece on b3, that camel will be locked in place, and then Jean won't be able to access the gold camel. John's probably going to want to... Oh, and that's interesting, because he might want to try and push that camel south to make space for his elephant to access b5, but he can't do that, otherwise the camel would be captured. So now Carl can put pieces now, thinking long term now, Carl might want to put pieces on b3 and c4, and then that way the camel, b5 camel, the a5 rabbit are all locked into place, and it's hard to reach. It's hard for any pieces to reach the b6 camel. So Carl it's on the 18th move now. He might put a dog on f4 to prevent that rabbit from advancing. 2 2 steps maybe to put a rabbit on b3, and then he's locked up that west side.
Meanwhile, you think maybe that rabbit on f5 could become vulnerable and get framed pretty soon?
Carl played a little differently than I thought he would. I guess rather than blocking up the silver camel, maybe he's thinking long-term about threatening that silver camel. Well, so Carl might have an interesting idea here. Rather than, I was thinking of just blockading the whole position, but what Carl might be thinking of trying to do is getting the cat on b5. As long as there's a cat on b5, and then another piece to prevent a 2-step move. I'm just trying to think this out long term. So his first step might be to put a rabbit on a4, an elephant on b4, a rabbit on a3. Then he could try to use 4 steps to pull the camel south to b4, put a cat on b5, and a rabbit on a5. Then he would... No.
Wow, interesting.
I was thinking of Carl's long-term moves that John has... I guess he's trying to now free up that space. That was a good move by John there. Because Carl's objective was always to prevent that b5 camel from being activated. Once it's activated, now the b6 gold camel is vulnerable.
Now the elephant might end up having to come to b5, huh?
Right. Wow, that would be a very awkward position to have his 3 strongest pieces all clumped up in strange positions like that. Well, he's doing what he has to do. It's a very, very awkward position for Carl, but...
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want to lose a horse, you know, right in the opening.
Well, the one thing that's saving Carl is that John's using most of his army to blockade that horse, so at least there's no threats against the f4 dog, for example. Everything's all congested. Until that camel gets around. Now, Carl's going to have to keep his eye on this. I might be tempted to move the cat from e2 to b1. You don't want the silver camel crossing down the middle. You can blockade use the b1, they can move the cat to b1 to blockade the b2 square. I think that would be a good move. Because John has to be very careful not to lose his camel here. He doesn't want to move the camel along the 3rd or 4th ranks. He's trying to move it through the bottom.
Now, what about also the possibility of Gold becoming active on the east wing with his horse and dog to invade f6?
Yeah, that might be an interesting counterattack. It looks like Carl's going for another interesting move. He wants to put pieces again on a5, b5, and b4, rotate his elephant out of there and blockade that position once again. If
right.
Carl can...
That'd be a good way to free up the elephant, and then it could come down and take the silver camel hostage.
Absolutely, yeah. Wow.
Ooh.
Okay, so now he has to save that camel, so maybe move the elephant to b4, rabbit to b5, and then push the camel west. He has to save his camel, and that looks like the only way. Oh no, he'd lose his horse, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, is that savable?
Oh, ouch. That's really good. I did not see that at all.
Oh, man. That's really bad situation there for Go.
Yeah.
I didn't even see that coming.
I was thinking about it earlier, but earlier there were pieces, when there were pieces on c4, that wasn't possible, but now, finally, the tactics have opened up.
Wow, that is scary.
Well, oh, boy. I don't know what Carl should do now. That's a very, very strong move.
I don't think I don't see any way to save that camel.
Well, he can save the camel by moving the rabbit to b5 and putting the camel on e6, but then the elephant will pull the horse through the c6 trap and take the hostage camel.
Oh, yeah, that's true. while taking the horse. Oh man.
Yeah. Ouch. So I guess Carl could have just abandoned that gold horse earlier, and he would have been in a better position than he is now. Now, well, I don't know what Carl can do now.
Yeah, this is really, really tough.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe would it be worth it for him to just, like, maybe put a rabbit on c6 temporarily and try to chase after the silver camel?
I think so. I think I would do that. Move the rabbit to a3, elephant to b2. Well, before you move the elephant, you move the rabbit to c5. I think that's his best chance. Nope, he's not going to do that. Now
He does
Carl's
have
only
the silver camel locked up, or the silver elephant locked up pretty good.
right. So yeah, Carl's rather than just exchanging pieces a horse down, he's going to try his last hope, which is if he can blockade that elephant, that silver elephant, and then free his own elephant. That's his last strategic hope, but that seems very difficult to do with only one horse. Usually what you do in this position is you'd put pieces on c6, c5, and initially you'd put your elephant on d6 until you can rotate it out. Chessandgo has already preempted that. Carl's plan would be so slow that we didn't have time. Gonna have to contend with.
He's starting to attack now.
Yeah, he can bring both horses, and that, of course, that silver camel can work its way under. John's gonna dominate that southeast trap.
You mean F3?
Sorry?
Are you referring
to
the
F3
trap?
Yeah, the F3 trap.
All right. Wow. Yeah, even that dog is a little vulnerable now. Ooh, this is a good move.
Yeah, Carl's last hope is this counterattack.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing there near F6 to counter that gold horse once it gets down there. As long as he can, maintain some control of F3, I think he might be able to create something over there.
Right. That was a good move by Carl's. Now John has to think defensively. I assume Carl here is going to push the cat to the f6 square and then use his last step to save his dog and put it on g3.
I wonder if Silver's going to start bringing the camel over now to the east wing.
There's so many obstacles in its way, it'll take a while, but definitely I'm sure he's got an idea for that. I think when he moved his horse to the southeast, his idea was to have 3 attackers, because originally there was a gold horse on g3. He would need eventually the silver camel to break the deadlock there. This is an interesting decision. So yeah, Carl's doing what I thought he would do. Just giving it one last shot here.
And I think also gold could probably... Ooh, that was interesting. I was going to say gold could probably get the elephant involved a little bit later if that pans out on the east wing there with the horse and rabbit.
Good point. Yeah, I think pretty soon Carl's going to just give up his camel. It's going to happen very soon. Right now I would think of maybe moving the rabbit to... No. If Carl's playing a little defensively, it's probably a good idea. I hadn't thought of doing that, but it's a good idea, I guess, to block up Silver's attack before he attacks on his own. At some point, I'm sure Carl's going to just give up his camel and desperately try to get a rabbit through.
Man, these games are so different than what I'm used to.
Yeah, there were a lot of tricky blockaded positions where they were constantly moving around trying to get access to a square and deny access to a square and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's pretty sharp, sharp and tactical in some of these situations.
Yeah.
There he goes, starting to shift that camel to the east wing now.
Yeah.
I think he's probably hoping to create, a goal threat and possibly a frame or something on the east wing before Carl creates anything on the, with his horse and rabbit.
Yeah. Yeah, Sean's already thinking of how to win this game.
It could become a bit of a race here.
Mm-hmm. But with the extra horse and the hostage camel, Jean should win this race pretty handily. Carl's protecting his c3 trap that was only protected by one piece. He might also be just thinking of a blockade and stuff like that, bringing more pieces up on the west side as blockaders.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. But that horse loss there, wow, really hurt him.
Oh yes, it did. Well, I thought Jean was going to focus on defense here, but he has not. Carl might just pull the g8 rabbit down to g7, and then advance the rabbit to h7. But then I think what Jean would do is just move the c8 rabbit over to g8, and then the position's locked up. So Carl might have to think of something different. I guess it's worthwhile to use 2 steps then to put the dog on f4 and advance the rabbit one more step.
Yeah, something's going to get framed here pretty soon, huh? On f3.
Yeah. Now Jean's 2 steps away from dominating the trap. Just to save the camel, to protect the camel a bit, I might put the horse on e3 and the camel on f2. Nope. Now I'd be worried about maybe the gold elephant coming to e3, e4. Put the gold elephant on e4 and then put a rabbit on d4, threatening the silver camel. Then before he could.
Right.
Yeah, right. So it might lead to a camel exchange, but then Carl would also lose that.
Yep, that's exactly what he did.
Yeah. So now they can exchange camels, but then after the camel exchange, Carl's got, he's going to lose that f3 cat and probably that b5 rabbit. But at least now he's got his elephant active. He's got an advanced rabbit on the h side. He's at least got something to fight for now.
Right. Now this will become a little bit more sort of equal, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Silver also gets a gold rabbit, I think, here, right? Oh, the cat. Forgot about that. Yeah, the cat.
And then later the rabbit, yep.
Yeah, but silver is definitely building up a good material advantage here.
Yep.
Ooh, I mean, what about the possibility of the cat advancing and freezing the rabbit and sending the rabbit down further?
Right, I think Jean will definitely take a look at that. In fact, he could also move his horse down to e1. Cat. Oh no, he's going to play it a little more cautiously. Oh, that's a good idea. I guess Jean's major concern was that Carl still has one strategic strength. That was the
advanced rabbit on
h6 rabbit.
File,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he just wants to neutralize that one last piece. Because Jean does have an advantage. He has an extra horse and an extra cat, plus there's a whole lot of vulnerable gold pieces. He might just be thinking of cleaning up now. So Carl might want to... I think I might put the horse on e5, move the rabbit over to e4 by pushing with the dog. At least try to create some threats. Well, actually, that might be better. He's giving up his g6 horse, But if Jean takes the g6 horse right now, that would leave his elephant on g6. And then Carl has a lot of chances to try and catch up on material. So that was actually a good move by Carl there. I don't think that g6 horse is going to be captured because that puts Carl in a really strong position.
Right.
If Carl would capture
He'd probably
the
lose two horses.
g3 horse.
Silver would probably lose 2 horses for that.
Exactly, for that one horse. So now he's going to have to push his elephant down. That was a good tactical move there by Carl. Maybe what Jean will do here is push the horse down with 2 steps, and then think about maybe reinforcing his defenses somehow. Carl's biggest strength is that h6 rabbit. That's always a looming threat. If that h6 rabbit weren't on the board, Carl would have very few chances to win, but at least he's got something to fight for now. And that g6 horse can't be taken now because it's giving up too much material by silver.
I think this is going to force the silver elephant to have to come over to f3 now, huh?
Yeah, I would just use 2 steps to push that dog down. I don't know what I would do with the other 2 steps. Maybe start moving pieces east just to tighten up the silver defenses a bit.
Right. Okay, so that's kind of what he did.
Mm-hmm. Well, so Carl might put his dog on f2 this turn. That work? I would think about doing that, and maybe putting a rabbit on g2. No, I was trying to think of a way for him to open up his position so that on his right now it's 32. On his next move on 33, maybe flip the silver horse to d3, but that would be too hard because the other horse would be a distraction. Carl's now fighting with his horse. What Carl might be thinking of here is bringing his horse all the way over to the west side now. So it would be a very strong piece on the west side, and there are lots and lots of gold rabbits there.
Oh yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, that would be a nice strategic type of play there.
So if John wants to chase down that gold horse, maybe he could put his cat on g6, elephant on f5, and then use 2 steps to move the cat to e5 and the rabbit to f4. That would protect the silver pieces temporarily while he chases down that gold horse.
Yeah, but those dogs
I don't know if
eventually be able to help take control again.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm just thinking about it, and yeah, that's not a good idea. So maybe if that gold horse gets free now, it might want to start participating on the west side of the board, try and help some of those gold rabbits advance. I still think Carl has a very difficult position. I think Jean's got the upper hand, but Carl's doing a really good job of keeping his attack active.
Yeah, this would be a really tough position to play for, as gold right now.
Yeah. You never want to just give up on positions like these or just play defensively. You always have to fight back, and Carl's trying whatever he has, he's trying to fight with, He's got one rabbit on the west side and a horse, and he's trying to do everything he can with them to create counterplay.
Yeah, all those advanced rabbits on the west, if he can get something going with his horse being the strongest piece on that side, that could actually, create a pretty tough situation.
Yeah, and even if that silver elephant ever chases down the gold horse, I think then Carlo would be able to capture a lot of material. But Carl's got 2 ideas here. One is to either lure the silver elephant, and if the silver elephant doesn't chase after it, then he will start to fight in that western half of the board. Whereas Sean also has some ideas because he has an open h-file. If he can get a rabbit down to h5, he might be thinking of... I was thinking he might have been thinking of trying to advance a rabbit to g5 and put his cat on g6, but it looks like he's thinking of protecting his western side more than advancing a rabbit stage. But if Carl does move his horse west, I think John's going to seriously think of moving that rabbit to the g5 square.
Yeah. Well, I really wouldn't know what to do here as gold. I don't know how to make progress in this situation. So he kind of gives up that advanced rabbit on the H file.
Yeah, John might be thinking of just capturing that rabbit and the gold rabbit on H6 and then advancing his own rabbit straight down the H file. Carl's probably thinking of pushing that dog from D5 all the way down to C4. And I don't think,
Yeah, it's probably worth it for him to use that dog.
I think he's going to try and capture the dog. At least use 2 steps to push the dog to C5, if not using 4 steps to push it to C4. Yeah, he's pushing it to C4. Now Carl's going to begin his attack. I think he's just going to start advancing rabbits down the H file. Carl's got those. Well, he does have a dog at least to protect him.
Oh.
So, yes, I would move the F3 dog, move it over to H2. His position's not hopeless yet. But I think it's important to get the dog to H2. Carl would really love to just use 2 steps to stop well, he might just use 2 steps to put a dog on G2. That way he can use 2 steps to capture that C4 dog. No. Now I think what John's going to do here is put a rabbit on H5. He wants to threaten a pull. Right now he can't pull that H3 rabbit just yet because the H4 rabbit is frozen, so he's going to want to unfreeze it. She might use the G6 rabbit to move to H5, and then that G3 silver horse could push the gold dog if needed up to the F6 trap. And then not only that, but he'd also be clearing a lot of space. Actually, that's a bit slower. I don't think John's going to worry too much about that. I think he's just going to try to focus on the goal attack here. No, he is thinking of capturing the dog. I thought it was too slow to capture the dog, but he is doing it.
So I wonder why he moved the elephant off of that key square there.
Not sure. I think he was. I was looking at moving the rabbit to H5 and then pulling the H3 rabbit, but Carl had some opportunities to freeze pieces in place and that sort of thing. Also, when the rabbit moved to G3, it would activate the dog if it was on G4. So he might just be thinking through tactical ways to just clear the clutter here. But I think if I was Carl, I would push the rabbit up to F5. That would protect the dog. Yeah, he's pushing the rabbit. But the silver's real threat was the rabbit pull. The rabbit can make it to H2 now, and I think if it makes it to H2, that it can't advance any further. Do you want to do that? He could actually pull pull the silver G3 horse, just jump right into the pit, pull a rabbit behind it, and advance the rabbit to H2. Is that a winning move?
I see what you're saying. Wow.
Nope, because actually then the elephant could move 1, 2. Oh, I think it does work. I think it does.
Because then it frees up that horse on E2 if it moves over.
If I'm right about it, that it should be a goal in 2, but I'm just not sure if
if there's a counter to stop that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's a horse sacrifice, so he has to be careful when he thinks about this. But
I wonder if John is actually considering this right now.
Well, he's a very good goal attacker, much better than me, so I'm sure he's thinking about it.
and he likes to go for these risky type, moves rather than just slowly cleaning up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure he's working that out right now.
Mm-hmm. And I just don't see how it could be stopped, because he'd have to put a piece on H1, and all of his pieces are 5 steps away. Yeah, actually, once he sees that threat, I think it should be pretty obvious. Maybe he doesn't know about the rule where you can jump a piece into a pit and still pull behind you.
Yeah, kind of like how he forgot about capturing all rabbits to win by elimination in the last World Championship.
Right. Because if he doesn't see that move, then he's going to have to play a lot slower. He'll have to move his elephant back to the F4 square.
Yeah, I think that might be unstoppable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the elephant's 5 steps away from the H1 square, and it has to be on H1 to prevent that rabbit from scoring. Wow. John's really thinking about this. On his 36th move, down to just a minute 10 reserve now. We believe he has a goal in 2 here.
Yeah, I think that's definitely unstoppable.
Mm-hmm. I've never seen that. I don't think I've ever seen a piece actually effectively jump into a trap like that before.
Well, except on like a final winning move.
Oh, right. Sometimes you'll have a rabbit on G3 and then you'll look to F3. Oh, he saw it. Yeah.
Yep.
I've seen different types of sacrifices where you move onto a trap to activate your rabbit, which is standing beside the trap square, but I've never seen a piece jump into a trap square to clear a path like that to victory.
Wow. So he did it, and I think that's probably it now.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing game.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. It seemed to go fast.
Yeah, we're only at move 37.
Yeah, just an hour and 7 minutes.
Wow, Chessandgo's playing really, really scary here.
He sure is, and I have to play him next week, so I better practice.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Carl had mentioned during the commentary, how Jean is so good at these tactical positions. In the previous game he mentioned that, and wow, he's really showing it here.
Yep, and it wasn't just tactical either. He was really good at maneuvering through cluttered positions, creating blockades, restricting pieces from moving, that sort of thing. Did a nice job with that frame. I remember when we were thinking whether he should frame that gold horse on C6, and I didn't like the idea, but he saw it correctly.
Man, to be able to win against Carl like this is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think they're probably chatting now.
It only takes a few seconds to realize, though, the elephant can't reach H1, so then I'm sure they're just sending congratulatory messages and that sort of thing. So we'll look forward to a post-game commentary here. Post-game interviews with both players.
Wow.
So I guess we should think of which questions we should ask them. I guess we can ask Carl if he thought he was in trouble when that dog was captured. That frame was a really tricky situation, and then John's attempts to blockade that D6 square so that the gold elephant couldn't save its framed gold horse, that was an interesting position as well.
Yeah, so I think it's over now. Sean has to make the final move.
Yeah.
Like Carl says, this is a good time to thank our sponsors
Oh,
for
right, good idea.
sponsoring
Yeah.
World Championship events this year. Z-Man Games, and also Board Games for Us. And I'd also like to thank all the folks who contributed to the Arimaa Prize Fund. And also like to thank everybody who's come out to watch the games today. And I know there's quite a bit of people in the chat room as well. So thanks everyone for coming out. And wow, what a game with a lot of fireworks today, huh?
Mm-hmm. This was a very exciting day. I think there were 6 games today, and a lot of exciting action today.
Yeah, so far it's been just amazing.
All right, Omar, I'm just going to step out for a minute. I'll come back for the post-game interviews.
Alrighty, I'll hang in here. Let me start opening it up so that we can start talking and open it up for everybody here. Just give me a second to do that.